Good morning, folks. Here we are, the day before game day, Friday, November 15th. We have a huge SEC game between number 7 Tennessee and number 12 Georgia Bulldogs. Before we get started, let's talk about the rankings. Do I think Georgia should have dropped to number 12? Definitely not. Definitely not. Are they struggling right now? Yes. Ole Miss has not been a barn burner team this year. They are a very talented team, especially on that depth with the defense and the offense. I think they've had 21 transfers came in out of their 22 starters. It's crazy with the whole transfer portal. But let's go back to Georgia. No, I don't think they're 12. They're definitely not ahead of Alabama. Alabama beat Georgia. I think if that game had another quarter, Georgia would have came back and won it. But we're talking about a different Georgia Bulldog team this weekend. 3 of their 4 running backs are hurt, of their top 4 running backs. I'll get into that in a moment. But so Georgia, 12. No, I think Georgia's definitely number 10 right now. Tennessee at number 7. We can't keep the politics out of college football. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous, okay? BYU, yes, they're undefeated. You know what? There's high school teams that are undefeated. Should we let them be top 5 in the country just because they're because they're undefeated? I mean, what does that mean anymore? Versus a one-loss SEC team. Oh, Indiana's undefeated. Indiana has not played anyone. Nobody. Garbage, absolute garbage. And they are going to lose but to Ohio State by 3 touchdowns. Mark it down, write it in your little book. I mean, it's going to be an absolute blowout. 3 touchdowns at least. And no, when Indiana has that one loss, they're done. Their season's over. No. I mean, if for some reason they get in the Big Ten championship, but they're not going to beat Ohio State or Oregon if they have to play either one. And I think if Ohio State's beat Indiana, they'll remain one loss and they'll play Oregon in the Big Ten championship. But BYU, come on, man. In Indiana, BYU, let's just talk about BYU. They should not even won the game last week. No. They were held by the referees to be a 4-5 Utah team, okay? Yes, the SEC does mean more. You dang right it does. You better believe it, the SEC. Go look at the NFL draft, okay? Just go look at it. Go look at the top 10 recruiting classes for the last 20 years. Go look at the national championship and playoffs in the last, since 1999, 98. Feels like 98, right? But no. Are you kidding me? I actually look in the old BCS rankings, I think BYU, even though they're undefeated, based on their schedule, conference they play in, they'd be like 18th right now. 18th. There is no way. Total disrespect to Tennessee, okay? Total disrespect, okay? Tennessee is viewed as a offensive powerhouse with Josh Heupel over the last couple of years. That's all, put up 71 points. We put up 71 points and a half, I think, this year, right? It was ridiculous. It was Kent State. But being viewed as an offensive school, you overlook probably one of the best defenses since 2000, okay? I'm talking there's only 4 teams, okay? Write this down. There's only 4 teams. The 2021 Georgia Bulldogs defense. We know where they went. National title. The 2020. Well, let me go back. Let's start with Michigan. And the stat that I'm referring to here is a defense that has not allowed 20 or more points. So Tennessee has held, in the last 10 games, including the bowl game last year, Tennessee has held the opponent to under 20 points. There's not been a 20 or more scored on Tennessee's defense, which is really impressive, especially in the Southeastern Conference. So, with that, let's look at 4 of the best. There's only 4 defenses that's done this since 2000, okay? Let me start off. Well, there may be like a Division II or maybe a WAC, but I doubt it. Okay. So, 2023 Michigan Wolverines. They had a consecutive streak of 10 games under 20. And guess what they did? They went on to win the national championship. 2021, the Georgia Bulldogs. They actually have the highest, 12 games, okay, in that streak. They went on to win the national championship. And we're going to rewind all the way back to 2011. The Alabama Crimson Tide, they have the same amount Michigan and Tennessee does currently. Well, actually, Michigan streaks ended. Tennessee streaks active at 10 currently. Alabama, 2011, 10 games. And guess what? They went on to win the national championship. I went back and looked at Miami. Miami was close. I think, the old school 2002 Miami, I think that power defense had 8. They had 8 in a row. But the 2024 Tennessee Volunteers are at 10, okay? Only one of 4 schools. 2021 Bulldogs, 2023 Wolverines, and 2011 Crimson Tide. I mean, just think about that, folks. They're not getting all the, the media fuss about it. They're not getting talked about. But this defense has kept the Tennessee Vols season alive. They held Arkansas. We kept them under that. Offense couldn't put out nothing that game. It was terrible. So here we are, 8-1 Tennessee Vols, number 7th in the country. No. Do not put a BYU and an Indiana who would absolutely could not, their offense couldn't do nothing against Tennessee's defense. Tennessee's defense would hurt them, okay? Hurt them bad. So Tennessee Vols should be number 5 today, okay? That's the Chris Self positioning, number 5, and Georgia Bulldogs number 10. But that's not the case. College football playoffs has Tennessee at 7, Georgia at 12. But here's the deal. We're playing in Athens. Ooh. As we all know, the last time we won in Athens, actually the last presidential candidate, Trump, actually won in 2016, was the last time we beat the Georgia Bulldogs, period, and that was in Athens. And that came down to a Hail Mary, literally a Hail Mary. It was one of the greatest finishes I've ever. It was the last time I had a Georgia Bulldog fan to my house for a game, Mr. Ronchon. I invited him back again this year, obviously. I'd roll out the red carpet. Well, no, I don't got the orange carpet. But he will not step foot in this house during any game that Tennessee and Georgia's playing. That's fair. All right, so outside of that, super excited. I know my nerves are going to be rattled tomorrow, but I'm I'm ready for it. But so let's get into what we got going on tomorrow. So let's take a look at the line. Well, with Nico going out with a concussion in the second half of the Mississippi State game last week, the lines shifted. So initially, the projection before Georgia even got smoldered by Ole Miss was 8.5 for this game looking forward. And then when Nico went out, and even though Georgia, they took that whipping, and that can be, as a Tennessee fan, I honestly wanted Georgia to win because I know Kirby Smart is one of the greatest motivator coaches. I mean, look at his record. Look at him. He's so good at motivating. They could be the number 1 team in the country for 2 straight years, and he can tell them the psychology. He can tell them that the country, they're looking down on us, blah, 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 blah. Well, they are looking down now, okay? But that's what I'm afraid of. I know what a motivator he is and how he can get that team ready to go. But let's look at that team. So back to the line. The line has now shifted back from, it went to 8.5 before to 12 on word that Nico would more than likely be out. You have some former ESPN analysts come out and say, oh, Nico's not playing. I hear it from an insider. Well, that's total garbage. But so the line did move. I don't know if it was based on that alone, but it moved. And then here recently, it started shifting back down. So a little bit of money. That's how that works. A little bit of money is now coming in on Tennessee. So we've moved from 12 back down to 9.5. We're playing in Athens, okay? The crowd, it's going to be a 7:30 game. I think this is only the 4th home game Georgia's played this year, so there's going to be a lot of motivation. ESPN Game Day is going to be there. That crowd, if they can get started early, hopefully that can kind of wear them down a little bit. And you know what I mean by getting started at 11 a.m. And, Tennessee, we've only played 7:30 games this year, 7:30 for the most part, 90% of our games. So let's take a look real quick at my prediction. I'm not going to sit here all day. I've actually got to finish up this Friday strong, closing a couple clients, so I've got to get that paperwork over. So let's take a look here at Georgia. And let's start off with the running back room. It's been hurting for the last few weeks. Trevor Etienne, the big money man. I think Georgia's paid maybe a couple $1 million for him to come in this year and be that back for this Georgia Bulldogs football team. And in the Florida game, his ribs got hurt pretty bad. You could even see it a little bit in the Ole Miss game, and they've actually ruled him out for the game. So you got your two other stud running backs. Who one has been out, one recently, and now Trevor Etienne. So you had 3 of their stud running backs that are out, and then you look at a 4th, Cash Jones. We all know Cash Jones, right? If you don't, go look him up. I like Cash Jones. I know a lot about his past, and I watched a show on him not too long ago. But Cash Jones has been walking around in a boot, for the last couple of days. What does that entail? I don't know. Maybe he'll get ruled out today. Who knows? So looking at the running back room, what do they have? Well, they have a stud true freshman. They have Frazier, okay? He's not Herschel Walker, but he is Frazier, all right? And he's a very talented physical running back, even though he's a true freshman. Is he going to be able to come in with Cash Jones limping around, the other 3 running backs out, and be able to take 95% of the running back workload? But the biggest factor is he's a freshman. He's still learning Bobo's system. He's still learning the Georgia system, and his pass blocking is not that great yet. And in this game, with Tennessee's stud defensive line, yeah, we've struggled a little in the last 2 games with the run, but I think that's for different reasons, with the running quarterback just kind of spreading out the line a little to keep him contained. So they've been able to. Carson Beck is not a running quarterback. He may be able to get you 5 or 6, luckily, here and there, but he is not that running quarterback. So Frazier, the big thing for him is he's going to have to know these pass blocking schemes, because the Tennessee Vols, that defensive line is the best defensive line in the country. Ole Miss is right there with them, but Tennessee is the best. And you better believe they're going to pin their ears back, and they're coming in for Carson Beck. So what does that entail? Well, Carson Beck's going to have to get rid of the ball quick. And Arian Smith's one of his best receivers. He's going to be covered by Jamad McCoy, who is, in my opinion, if not the best, one of the top 2 cornerbacks in the Southeastern Conference. Yeah, that conference. Jamad McCoy. He's a sophomore, so he'll actually be coming back next year. He's going to be on the top of the list for the defense. He'll probably be a preseason All-American if he don't finish All-American this year. So Jamad McCoy, that I've only seen 1 touchdown scored on him, and that touchdown that was scored on him, the coverage he was so blanketed on that receiver. It was a miracle that the receiver caught it in the end zone. But Jamad McCoy is that guy. He's him. He's him, hi-ho, just like Dylan Sampson. He's that guy, right? So Georgia Bulldog, I won't even say running back room. I'm going to say Frazier. He's going to have his work cut out for him. He's had a couple good games this year. He had a pretty decent game against Clemson, and he had a pretty decent game against Florida. He's never broke the 100, knock on wood. He's never broke the century mark of 100 yards in a game, but those 2 80-yard games he only had maybe 11 or 12 carries. So there's a lot of potential there, okay? Last week he didn't do so hot against Ole Miss. I think he averaged 3.9 yards per carry. Big thing is he had 2 fumbles. Big game, big fumbles. This is a big game. You can't have big fumbles. So the running back. So let's go into the offensive line. After watching and let me just say, people know me well. I've watched every Georgia game, probably for the last 10 years. I watch every Georgia game. I watch every Tennessee game, of course. It's my team. So last week, what stood out to me was Tate Ratledge, one of the best offensive linemen guards in the country. he went to block. The dude just ran right by him and he fell over. His ankle is still not good, not well. So keep an eye on Tate Ratledge. He's one of the anchors on that offensive line. He struggled last week, and they pulled him. And from what I can recall, and trust me, I looked for number 69 out there the whole rest of the game, and I don't think he came back in at all. So keep an eye on Tate Ratledge. There's a couple other linemen there on the Georgia offensive line that are banged up. And you could see it last week. They're giving up sacks. Beck's getting pressured, throwing those interceptions. So wide receiver drops is killing Georgia as well. We've seen it all year. They've had a bunch of drops that could have changed the momentum of several games, okay? Maybe even in those 2 lost games. So, all right, enough of Georgia, okay? Nobody wants to hear about Georgia, right? Especially my friends and family. So let's talk about Tennessee. So the elephant in the room all week and across the nation has been, will Nico play? And the answer, based on the intel that I'm receiving and just my gut feeling, he is 99% going to play. Nico will be out there. Nico will be ready to go. And as you know, Nico loves the challenge of road games. And he's going to get the biggest road test of his young career. So the last couple weeks, I've seen Nico mature greatly, okay? He took a hit in that Alabama game. I think he got slammed down on the ground and he threw an interception. When he came back in the game, he's been a different Nico ever since, or a bit different quarterback. He is, I don't know what it is, and I think it has to do a lot with the offensive line also finally coming together. You know, Heard the big transfer, the $1 million left tackle. He surprised. A lot of fans were very disappointed the way he was playing the first few weeks. He was just totally out of shape. You don't come in and, well, he did miss some time as an injury in the fall, but you know, before the season started. But he's getting there. Hurd is getting there. I think yet last week and the week before, he showed his value. You know, I don't know if it's $1 million, $2 million a year, but he stepped up his game. So with that, Nico is starting to get familiar more with the offensive scheme. He's starting to be able to get out of the pocket when the pocket breaks down. So Nico, he has a chance. He comes in and win this game. He has a chance to have the greatest season for a freshman or true freshman quarterback that started at Tennessee in Tennessee's history. And that even goes back to a man named true freshman, Peyton Manning, who started at Tennessee. Dylan Sampson, he is the man, okay? That is my Heisman front runner. And I won't get into the discussion about, you know, those other guys that ESPN talks about all the time. Well, the Boise State running back, yeah, he's got he's strong. I've watched several of his games. He had a great game against Oregon, but if you look at every other game, he's playing Mountain West competition, folks. Mountain West. If you haven't watched Mountain West, go watch Mountain West and you'll see what I'm talking about, okay? I could take 4 running backs out of the SEC and have these same numbers if they were playing Mountain West competition week in and week out, okay? Easily. Well, let's talk about Dylan Sampson, who is getting totally disrespected. This man has been the offensive workload, carried the whole workload. He's put it on his back and said, let's go, right? Even last week when he hurt his ankle. He has 20 rushing touchdowns. He set the all-time Tennessee single season record for most touchdowns, even the old record that was back in the 1930s of 18. Now he's got 20, and he's still got, 3 games to go. I think the SEC record for a running back is 28. I think it was Najee Harris several years ago. But the numbers he's putting up is absolutely phenomenal. If you compare him to the 3 running backs that's had those 20 touchdown rush seasons, you're looking at Derrick Henry, Najee Harris, and who was that other? Can't think of it right now off the top of my head. But the numbers are phenomenal. And it's not a scheme. He's a workhorse. His yards after contact are absolutely amazing. He gets hit, he goes. He spins, he turns, he jives. He's absolutely phenomenal. And the fact, he comes out and has a game today or tomorrow in Athens, 1, 2, 3 touchdowns. If you ain't moving him up to the top 3 in the Heisman front runner list, turn you off. Turn ESPN off. I'll tell you what. But anyway, so that's my take on Dylan Sampson. He is the workhorse. That's what Georgia needs to work. Georgia needs to pressure Nico on the outside. Georgia's Kirby's great at scheming up. They're going to do that stinking line shift, and the crowd's going to be going crazy, and Nico's going to be coming back from a concussion. They're going to have the edges blitzers getting ready. So going to be a lot of pressure, folks, a lot of pressure. And hopefully, I got to look at hopefully it ain't going to rain. Maybe it'll be a good thing for us, but I don't know. So Georgia's defense needs to shut Dylan Sampson down. So they need to worry about that. And Tennessee's offensive line, I'll get back to that. They've grown leaps and bounds. Still the right tackle position, injury. It's not really sustainable right now. And with that, Nico is playing tomorrow, so get ready for Nico. Get ready for 7:30 ABC primetime. Get ready for a long day, folks. 7:30 seems like forever, especially now here we're sitting at early in the morning right now before the day even starts. So get ready, and I'm going to throw out my prediction here. I wrote it down here on my little sticky tab. Right, okay. So I have Tennessee continuing their streak of keeping teams under 20 points. That would move us into a number 11. We'd be 1 behind Georgia, and we could do it these last 2 games after Georgia. So we need to win this one, keep it under 20, and my prediction is Tennessee is going to win 31-18 in Athens tomorrow. And with that, hey, dispute in the comments, and have a wonderful day, and go Vols.